Do transparent sounding electronics require voicing? This question comes from Francis in the Philippines. And Francis writes, I've seen reviewers describe a component as something transparent, meaning it does not get in the way of the music, or it has no signature of its own. That's correct. I was just wondering, do designers of such audio components like yourselves still have to voice these transparent sounding products? Shouldn't transparent sounding equipment need no voicing? Well, that's an interesting question, because I think the logic is a little twisted. What do we call that? Pretzel logic, thanks to Steely Dan. And I don't mean any disrespect at all. What I mean by that is, I believe voicing, at least in our company, is how you get products to sound transparent. It is the act of voicing that makes them transparent. That's what we are trying to do, to remove the sonic signatures of the equipment without turning them into sterile flaps. Okay, let me explain that. First off, voicing. Let's talk about voicing. Many electronic companies, I don't know, I'm not going to make sweeping proclamations like I always do, but I know for a fact that a lot of companies in our industry don't voice products. They design them on paper, they put them on the bench, they get them to work with low distortion, low noise, frequency response is what they want, boom, ship it. We met budget, we're good to go. We don't do that. Well, we do that, but that's only the first step in doing what we do. So while we design things on paper, then we put them on the bench, we get them sounding or working the way we want, the right distortion, frequency response, and noise specs. Then they go into the listening room to where they are voiced. So let's imagine that we took a product into our listening room, ran it through our standard battery of tests, which are basically a whole group of reference recordings that we use, which, by the way, I mentioned in an earlier video. If you would like to see what that list is, just go to Google and Google me this. Type in Paul's Picks, and about the second or third on the list that goes down from the page, you'll see Paul's Picks from a Paul's Post, and click on that, and you'll see my list of primary reference material that I use and we use, because I'm not the only voicer here, for checking out how our equipment performs on an actual stereo system. And what we're looking for is to make sure that nothing has a voice, that it is transparent, right? So that if everything had too much bass, or if everything had too much this or too much that, or extended mid-range, or everything had a loss of depth and soundstage width, man, I'm struggling with talking today. Sorry about that. Sound stage width. Then we would know that there's a problem that has to be worked on, and it's no longer transparent. You know, one of the things that cracks me up, I talk to customers all the time, and they go, well, I talked to this one company and they said, yeah, they give it a listen to make sure it's good, but they don't voice it. They say that's silly, that once it measures properly, there's nothing more you can do. And futzing around in the playback room is just marketing bullshit. And I think, wow, that is such a weird view. I don't know how anybody could say that. And secondly, I don't know how anybody could swallow that. Imagine a car company who designed a car and then never drove it. I mean, these are complex pieces of machinery, whether it's a preamp, a power amp, a CD player, or a new Mazda car. you do your best, you put it on the dynamometer, you make sure, but at the end of the day, you're going to get in that thing and drive it. You might notice when you get in your new car, yeah, it does everything the machines tell us, but how does it feel? How does it interact with the user? What's the user experience within the car? We don't have a way of measuring that. They certainly don't. I don't have a way of measuring soundstage depth and width. I don't know anybody that does. I can sure hear the difference, and anybody walking in that room can hear the difference. You can too. So the fact that we don't have a way of measuring some things is just, it's nonsensical to think that that doesn't exist. Sorry, guys, but it does exist. And so it has to be taken into account in the design process, and that is how we get to making transparent sounding products, through the voicing process. Hope that helps. Thanks. Bye.